Hello, friends, and welcome to my video recording. This recording has been created based on the presentation I gave in my webinar. The topic, of course, is Future of Technical Writing. I had given this webinar a while ago, and I got a number of mail requests asking me to share the video recording. I also noticed some changes or additions to be made to this presentation during the webinar. So I decided to create a video for it. So here we go. I hope you'll find this video useful. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk about technical writing, of course, but then I'm going to look at the future of technical writing as a career, future of some of the technical writing tools, future of some of the processes related to writing or authoring, if you want to use that word. I've also included some ideas to ponder upon. Let's go ahead. A little bit about me. So, my name is Mak Pandit. They also call me Mac. More than 20 years in technical communication. I'm the managing director of the company that I started in 94, which is Technowrites. Recently, I started another company called as Zetaversity, which would specialize in offering modern age training courses designed based on the challenges and needs of today. I'm the associate fellow of the Society for Technical Communication. I'm the past president of the STC India chapter and also the past owner of the Technical Writers of India mailing list. I'm sharing all this so that you know I have got some experience in what I'm going to talk about. Let's go ahead. So, a quick recap of some of the important points or changes that we have seen in last 15 years. I have worked on a number of projects in India as well as abroad. I have done multiple projects in many countries in Asia. And one important milestone that I see, which brought about a lot of changes to the industry in India, was India visit of President Bill Clinton of United States of America. When he came in, along with him, I think a number of bureaucrats came in, a number of businessmen came in, and they all came in with an intention of investing in India. So, a lot of Indians were actually working across a lot of countries, I would say, in many good companies. But then these companies those days did not have full fledged offices or development centers in India as they probably have today. So, I think that one event or that one development changed a lot of things for us. Companies started relying more on Indian democracy. They started relying on the political system in India. They thought that it offered a stable environment to form a company and grow it. So, based on that, a number of companies were set up, and as we all know, those companies have only increased operations over a period of so many years. We started working in global teams. A number of times, teams diversified in multiple countries across multiple cultures and so on. Over last few years, I have also witnessed that Indian managers are now managing global projects, and there are writers working in other countries who are reporting into managers in India. So I think this is a very important point because earlier And even today, probably a number of Indian tech writers report into managers in other countries. As all of us have witnessed, layoffs have happened in the West, and I would say they have also happened in India to some extent. In the coming years, maybe they'll increase. Now, this is something that I'm going to talk about in one of the subsequent slides. Most importantly, all this changing socio political environment has led to new careers being created. What's important to note here is these careers have got created in spite of total lack of formal education that was required for the professionals pursuing that career. I think technical writing, instructional design, and so on are good examples of this. I came into technical writing without any formal education or training in technical writing. And I think it will probably be the same case with many of you or most of you. So we sort of learnt our skills on the job and then we moved ahead. We shared our knowledge with others. We try to learn new tools, invent new processes, and so on. Over the years, the careers have settled down. So the jobs have got stabilized. In fact, a number of tasks have got added to all those jobs. For example, earlier we were writing maybe user guides and a few other documents. Now the number of documents that we are writing has increased to a great extent. We have shared our knowledge with others. We have designed different types of documents. We have added many skill sets. For example, working on graphics, editing videos or editing sound files, and so on. So I think many of these careers are settled down now. Those jobs are taken for granted. Companies or teams have realized that there would be a person who's going to help them prepare different types of documents that they need during the product or the project development lifecycle. This stabilizing of jobs has also led to some good opportunities. We'll talk about those as well as we go ahead. Let's talk about some of the obvious changes that all of us have witnessed over last so many years. Communities have become users' platform of choice. The users would prefer to search information on user groups, and sites like Stack Overflow are very common. We go and look at solutions to our problems there. Cloud has become a platform of choice. So instead of working on desktops, now a lot of people are working on clouds. And I think that is sort of related to the next point that I have mentioned, which is the ever increasing use of devices. The bigger applications have given way to the smaller apps. So we have got multiple devices which are being used on cloud platform to author documents. With the advent of devices, I think there has been an increase in number of users. Some of them never really used technology before. I would like to give example of my friend or what my friend shared with me the other day. He said his father traveled to US to stay with him for a few days and he really used to miss the Indian newspapers. So what my friend did is he bought a tablet for his father and made it work with the wireless internet that he had Because of that, because of the tablet, his father became so independent and so used to accessing information on internet that even after coming back to India, he insisted that a wireless network and internet access be set up at home. Now, this gentleman had never really used internet or emails earlier, but that experience of using a tablet really changed his life forever, if I may say. So, the number of users is increasing, and with the advent of wearable technology, things like glasses, watches, and so on, I think this number will go up even more. While the number of users are going up, the users are also becoming smarter. Some of them already know the competitive products. They would know what another product can do. They would know what your competitor is doing. They would know or even compare features or drawbacks or limitations of your product with that of some other competing product. Many of these users are preparing documents themselves. We call that as user generated content. Now, when I say document, I don't really mean text files, but I mean everything that can contain knowledge. So many users are creating videos, they are having fairly complex technical discussions, they have their blogs, they have their mailing lists, and so on. The number of open source applications or community supported development projects have also increased. So, a number of competitive products are available, and many of them are available for free. This has also helped the users to get a choice, and obviously, it has also helped the users to form their own blogs or sites and share their content and so on. The time to market has reduced and will probably go on reducing in future as well, which has directly put pressure on the design development and manufacturing processes. So many of these processes are now totally different than what they were as close as 10 years ago. Let's go to the next slide. So, talking about some of the subtle changes, communities are opening up more and more. And I think this can also be witnessed from the various communities that are there under the STC umbrella or Society for Technical Communication umbrella. We have got many geographic communities or chapters, we have got special interest groups or SIGs, and many of these communities are sharing their content with a lot of users, even if they are not their community members. So, their websites have got public access, their newsletters have got public access, their recordings have got public access, and so on. I think the same is applicable to many other communities for products or technologies across the world. As a result of these communities opening up, I think people have started interacting at a global level, and they are even able to send updates or late breaking information about products, problems, solutions, and so on within minutes of their intent of transmitting it. Users are relying a lot on data security, and as a result of that, they are sharing a lot of content in public, which includes photographs being shared, videos being shared, articles being shared, and so on. While cloud has become a platform of choice, different configurations of cloud have emerged. So there is a public cloud, that's something being used by us on, let's say, communities like Google Plus or Facebook. There is a private cloud, so which is only accessible to members. A lot of companies are building their own private clouds wherein their employees or communities within those organizations can create their own sites, blogs, documents, and so on. You have got cloud in a box, or you have got hybrid clouds, which could be a combination of public and private and so on. Open source products have caught up with premium products. In fact, I tend to think that the open source product may even lead the premium products very soon. When I say premium products, I am talking about licensed tools or applications for which we need to pay a price. If you look at certain versions of Linux, I think the distros have got some tools or some unique features which probably you'll not find in licensed or paid products like Windows. The overall team size has shrunk. So earlier it was common to have a team of 70 or 80 people working on a particular product or a project. Today, most companies would like to retain team size to less than 50. Many of them may have as small as 15 or 20 members working on a particular product. As I mentioned earlier, the development life cycle has shrunk, and this obviously has put a lot of pressure on technical writers also. We are now expected to cope up with this reduced development life cycle. So, the way we used to create documents has changed a lot today. We'll talk more about this on one of the subsequent slides. Marketing has become focused and it has become thinner. In good old days, companies used to develop products and then they would have distributors, they would have representatives in many countries or cities and so on. Now, many of those companies are directly selling their product online, and this includes a number of software applications. If you are developing an app, you have got places like iTunes or Google Market available where you can sell your apps. So the marketing function has become much more focused and it's leveraging internet and the information technology to the fullest. At the same time, it has become thinner. What I mean by this is the number of people working on that function has probably gone down. Earlier, we would take the help of an ad agency to print our documents. We would take the help of an ad agency to release advertisements in the media. Now, many of those functions are being handled directly online. We are creating products, courses, we are selling them online, we are using websites, banners hosted on websites, we are using Google advertising, and so on. And the same marketing executive who was focusing entirely on field activities now also has to take care of many of those responsibilities that I just mentioned. One interesting thing that has happened is virtualization has increased and it will go on increasing. Virtualization means that you are installing a software on a layer of, let's say, an operating system so that you will be able to use a different software on a different operating system. For example, you could be using, let's say, a Windows version of FrameMaker on an Apple machine. So on the Apple machine, you would have Windows installed, and on top of that, you would have FrameMaker installed. Virtualization and cloud based authoring, I think, are going to be two of the most important trends that we can see in the coming years. There are a number of challenges that we face. These include developing users' interest in our documents, making the products available through devices and clouds, and I'm talking about software applications here. Earlier, the problem was the content was not available. Now, the problem is while a lot of content is available, searching that content, making sense of that content, and relying on that content is not easy. So, while too much of content is available, it's not really easy to search it. And I would like to relate this to the development of World Wide Web. So, earlier we had World Wide Web, then we have Web 2.0 where users generated their own content. What I mean by that is people creating their own pages on Facebook or LinkedIn, uploading information that they wanted and publishing it in no time. Now is the time of Web 3.0, which is also being referred to as semantic web, making sense of the information or the content on internet. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that people have. Going beyond text, I think, is a challenge. Many of us who have learnt our skills directly on the job realize that our skills or some of our skills may actually be outdated. So we have to look at adopting or maybe learning new skills, which will include working on videos, audios, and text. With that being discussed, let's talk a little bit about future of content. As is the case right now, I think in future also content will be multi-authored. What I mean by that is the content will be created by a number of users who could be working on that content even at the same time. And this is where I think cloud based authoring is going to help. Content obviously will be reused. We'll probably not write the same paragraphs again and again. We will put that content together in some sort of structured or minimalized format so that we can do a maximum reuse of content. A lot of content will be user generated, and as technical writers, we could be required to curate that content. The content will become intelligent, which means that depending on what device you are using, the content will present itself in one or many formats. The content will be rated. Users are going to rate that content, and users are going to say that I think this topic has helped me more. Now, based on the rating given by the users, the next user may see this topic before the other topics. Content will be scaled because of different types of devices being used to browse that content. So, we may have a simple step or we may have detailed steps and so on. Content will be curated as we mentioned earlier because user generated content may not really follow the strict discipline of grammar, or the structure could be wrong, or some important parts could be missing or even misleading. So we could be required to curate that content, add more value to it. The content could be auto updated. What I mean by that is If I have already published the document, I may just add two more topics to it after 1 week, or the content will get updated as I am probably updating my pages. So while I could be updating my pages manually, the content may get updated automatically in the background. The content could be amalgamated, and it's probably the first time when somebody is using this word for content. I must admit, I was sort of looking for a better word, but then I decided to use this. What I mean by this is different type of contents will come together. I'm talking about video, I'm talking about audio, I'm talking about text, and so on. And all this may come and sit together in the same help or the same site or the same wiki that the users are going to access. While I may get text to read to understand a procedure, there could be a button there which will say read out that text. So I may use that audio or follow the instructions in that audio as I'm actually doing the task at hand. This kind of content could be very useful for working on a number of products, including engineering products, mechanical components, hardware, or even software applications. Let's go ahead. In this slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about the future of processes. The group authoring is already happening where we are sharing our content. We are able to search our content. We are managing the way the content has been authored. We are tracking our own content. We are able to see which topic has been finalized, which is published, which needs to be updated, which will be affected by a change process, and so on. Cloud-based authoring is here to stay, has already happened, but then cloud-based authoring has led to some of the changes in the review and the publishing process. So while we were creating documents using desktop applications, now those documents are in the cloud, and everything, including spelling check, grammar check, consistency check, everything is happening directly on the cloud. Even the publishing could be happening directly on the cloud. Now, while all this is happening, different users may have got different levels of access. So while one user could be allowed to only put in the content, his editor or her editor could probably go ahead, edit the content, and then publish the content that is ready to be shared. As we go ahead, I think our workflows are going to go through a paradigm change. All these years we have relied on workflows assuming that our content will be in the form of text. But now that we know that we could also be creating content in other forms, including audio, videos, animations, and so on, we may have to redefine our authoring workflow. We may have to think, am I going to do the screen recording first, or am I going to write the help first? After writing the help, what is that I'm going to do? Am I going to create audio for it? Or am I simply going to create a video for it? Audios and videos will probably get added to our doc set or set of documents that we produce for our products. Mind you, it's not mandatory that the same writer could be working on all these deliverables. So that sort of makes it even more interesting. Let's go ahead. Future of tools. I think earlier I mentioned about popularity of open source tools. I also mentioned that some of the features in open source will now probably be better than those in paid or licensed applications. Since the authoring process will become cloud based, the tools will become cloud based as well. And I think a lot of tools that we are using today are available in a cloud based platform, or a cloud based license is available. I believe Microsoft has made entire MS Office available in the cloud. We are all aware of Google Docs, which is purely cloud based authoring. I believe Adobe was going to create cloud based licenses for RoboHelp and FrameMaker as well. Instead of generating output in a proprietary format, I think now the tools will be forced to generate output in a open or a public standard. For example, EPUB, which is a standard of IDPF, output in HTML, XML, docbook, data, and so on. Let me mention one important point about EPUB here. EPUB 3, which is the latest standard of EPUB at the time of authoring this video, is capable of reading out the text. What I mean is, if you have published a document in the EPUB format, you can go to a particular page and a EPUB 3 compatible reader will give you a button which will say read it from here. So that reader will even read that text. This probably would create some interesting possibilities. One is, of course, it makes our content more accessible to those who are challenged of vision. They will be able to listen to the audio and perform those actions. At the same time, I think this audio conversion gives us a lot of additional possibilities of looking at our content and its structure. So tomorrow our user may simply open our document as EPUB 3, keep that device, which could be a tablet, next to him, and just play that audio and then follow those steps. Which means we may not even be required to create the audio for the text that we have written. Many more interesting possibilities will come up as there are more and more developments in the wearable technology. Many of these products are now being offered for limited time, or the software as a service kind of license. I think many Adobe applications are available. Most of the Microsoft applications, typically all the MS Office applications, are available on an annual pricing model. So instead of buying a tool for lifetime, you may say that I may just buy MS Office for a period of 1 year. The first point, which is the availability of a lot of open source tools and the availability of software on a time-based pricing model, will probably lead to a increasing trend in freelancing, because this will eliminate the additional investment required from freelancers just to get all the tools on their laptop. With these two pricing, I think it will also become easier to come into technical writing, and a lot of students will be able to use the tools that we are using today in the industry. Let's talk about the future of technical writing as a career. I think instructional design and technical writing have already merged. Companies are asking the same resource to write technical documents and also create training material. As we speak, I believe content writing is merging as well. So we'll probably have one role where technical writing, instructional design, and content writing would have merged. In a few cases, some selected cases, I think even localization and translation will merge with technical writing. In fact, companies may prefer a writer who will be able to write as well as translate. As more and more tools are becoming available and the jobs are stabilizing, as I mentioned earlier, I think the penetration and spread of all the writing careers will increase. So, writers will probably get jobs in companies or industry verticals which are not hiring them right now. I won't be surprised if all the banks in India hire a writer. I won't be surprised if all the government offices would hire teams of writers, not just one. Within the organization, I think the penetration of the role of a writer will increase. We will probably penetrate into departments like marketing, departments like human resources, and so on. Writers who are capable of producing videos, producing tutorials, or even helping to author marketing collaterals will be extremely high in demand. Many companies may even put it as a point in the job description saying that the writer should be able to work with our marketing department to produce content for all the marketing collaterals. User experience designers will be sought after, and I think many writers or technical writers will probably drift into this career. I won't be surprised if that happens because I think many of us have developed that eye for detail and we are able to predict or at least note and give this feedback to the designers saying that this particular form needs improvement. Talking about writing in the marketing function, I think proposal writing will be extremely high in demand. A lot of writers will get the opportunity to become a proposal writer. It's important to note that proposal writing as a function in the industry will come before technical writing. So a company goes ahead and develops the project or the product once that work has been allocated. But for doing that, at some point of time, somebody must be filling a proposal or responding to RFP, a request for proposal. In terms of value addition, since proposal writing will have direct bearing on the earnings of the company, the perceived value addition from proposal writers will be extremely high. I won't be surprised if proposal writers are being paid at least 2 to 3 times higher than technical writers. Many of the points that we have already discussed, including shrinking team size, availability of open source tools, and so on, will probably lead to increase in freelance opportunities. Many writers, if they are working on contract with a company and depending on the terms of contract that they have signed, may be able to do both. That is, they could be working full time as an employee or contractor for a particular company, and part of the time they could be spending on working on some other projects. This will help them to generate additional revenue and even develop more opportunities of enhancing their careers or moving up in the value chain. So, in the given time, you'll probably get an opportunity to work on different types of projects and increase number of projects if you start freelancing. Let's go ahead. If you are thinking of the future, I think you should think of adding some of the skills that I've mentioned on this slide. And this is really anybody's guess, so I don't think this is something extremely complex to predict. If you are working in a company, you have to have the know how of that company's business. Who's paying your company? Why is he paying that company? What products is it developing? What benefit is the product giving to the user, and so on. If you are a writer, at some point of time, because of the decrease in the time to market, you could get an opportunity to work as a tester. Given that opportunity, I definitely would grab it. If you are working with content or text, there will be opportunities to author sound and videos now. And not just recording, but even editing them, publishing them, and so on. The tools that are available for doing this are so simple, and many of them are actually for free, that I would highly recommend all of you to go ahead and try your hands on some of these tools. Create some videos, publish them on your own YouTube channels or something similar. Having accumulated a lot of process knowledge or product knowledge, I think we'll probably get an opportunity, or many of us will probably get an opportunity to impart that knowledge to somebody else. So, if you could add presentation skills to your skill set, I think you have got good chances of developing in that area as well. While the marketing is becoming thinner, I think even the tech support may become thinner. And a technical writer may be required to interact with the user and solve the problem of the user, or maybe log a ticket or respond to a problem that a user may have logged in a ticket. When content writing merges with technical writing, or when a lot of our documents actually get published on the web, I think we should increase our technical know how about search engine optimization, about internet advertising, and virtualization. Once again, I believe that some of the most interesting possibilities that will be created in next 5 or 7 years will be because of virtualization of tools. Because we will be processing information in different formats, we have to know the source from where we can get it, or the platform or format in which we can actually go ahead and publish or distribute it. Which means we perhaps need to learn about RSS feeds, big data, information analytics, and so on. The next point, of course, is freelancing. I have mentioned this point a number of times earlier. Though remember that freelancing is different from technical writing. Just because you are able to write well doesn't mean you'll succeed as a freelancer. For that, you'll need a bit of business acumen. While you could be able to estimate a project right now, as a freelancer, you'll be required to prepare a quotation and give a quote for that project. This means you have to know taxation, you have to know what kind of taxes could be available on your service, you have to know when and how you are going to get paid, and so on. The most important thing that a lot of people, especially those who get into freelancing and typically get out of it in less than 6 months, lack is marketing skills. So, if you are serious about freelancing, I would highly recommend that you enroll yourself for some of the training on management or marketing. You have to know how you are going to sell. Otherwise, you'll have to be at the mercy of the raindrop and hope that it falls into your pot. Let's go ahead. On this slide, I have given some of the ideas to ponder. Will everything be possible for everyone? And the answer probably is no. But then there are so many possibilities. I think depending on your personal choice or the opportunity that exists in your organization right now, you may be able to cling on to that particular future. At least you can identify that opportunity and see if you can start working in that direction. Will the jobs of pure technical writers be in danger? Once again, all these are ideas, so I may not be able to give a 100% certain answer to this question. But to some extent, I think yes, pure technical writing, where writing refers to only authoring of text, will definitely face competition. Should one learn to author in more than one languages? The question, beg your pardon, the answer to this question is definitely a big yes. I think you will be required to author in more than one languages. Now, one thing that I would like to note here is something a friend of mine told me a few years ago. He said an average Indian speaks something like 3 to 4 languages. If you take my example, I think I speak Marathi, which is my native language, my mother tongue. I also speak Hindi. I'm fairly good with English. I can speak and understand Gujarati and some other languages, though I may not really be able to author or write in all of those languages. But then this is one skill that one should think of developing. Will you be able to take the part time or the freelance work? Once again, I may not be able to give you a certain yes or a certain no. It depends on your family, it depends on what kind of investments you have, it depends on your aspirations, it depends on what kind of contract you have signed with your employer, and so on. But many of these possibilities are definitely there. Well, that brings me to the last slide of my presentation. So, these are all three are my photographs. So, right from my school days to my college days, and then a more recent photograph. What I want to say here is change is inevitable. And if it is for better, if you are becoming more matured as an individual, I think you should embrace that change. So, thank you very much for spending time and looking at my video. Feel free to give me your feedback and inputs. You can see my email ID on the slide here. If you want to take a look at some of the links related to this presentation, send me a mail and I'll share the links page with you. So once again, thanks a lot for looking at my video. God bless.